What up, guys? This is Church of Caboose, and in today's Destiny video, we are talking about public events and how to make them heroic. But really quickly, big shout out to my wife, Crazy Corgi Queen. She is also a Destiny player. She gave me the idea for this video, as well as helped me do some researching and playing these public events to give you guys the best footage I could. Alright, now let's get on into this. Why are we talking about public events? Well, there's a whole bunch of new players to Destiny 2, returning players to Destiny 2, thanks to Shadowkeep and the free-to-play new Light. And while some of these public events might seem intuitive to others as to how to make them heroic, maybe not everyone's quite picking up on it, and that's okay. They're not all completely obvious, which is why I'm doing this video. Feel free to take a look at the timestamp so you can get to the event you want. And speaking of events, while there are potentially something like 30 to 50 events, if you consider each location on each planet has an event, I am not covering all 30 because they really all boil down to the same like 10 or so public events. So what do I mean by that? Well, take this event on screen with the Fallen Tank. There's one on Titan, there's one on the Moon, and there's probably one somewhere else. But they all work the exact same way. It's just different location, same fight. That is why I'm only covering about 10. So don't worry, if you are on a different planet and you see my footage covering, as long as you're doing the same type of public event, and I'll list the name as well, you will be fine. How I tell you should do it for heroic is exactly how you would do it anywhere else if you're somewhere else than where I am in the footage. Alright, so let's get on in to how do we make these suckers heroic. Let's start with this first video. Alright, for public event number 1, Glimmer Extraction. The basic gist of the Glimmer Extraction is that the Fallen are trying to mine Glimmer and send it on up to their catch, and you are trying to stop them. And they have 3 locations. You clear ads, and then that'd be basically it if you're not trying to make this heroic. But to make this event heroic, as you are seeing on screen, you shoot those little mine triangle glowing type things. There's one at each of those 3 locations. You have to destroy the one at each location in order to make it heroic. So once you have all 3 destroyed, you have a heroic event. Typically, the very first location where they all spawn from mining, you will not have that triangle thing appear until after the first round of ads is cleared, and then on the remaining 2 mining locations, they tend to appear rather quickly, and it's not that hard to find them and get rid of them. Now, obviously, the more people you have doing this, the better, because they are a little bit tankier than you would think, considering they're just a machine. Now, once you have gotten those 3 down, that is when the event turns to be heroic. Then all you have to do is control a zone and hold it. So you just sit in like a glowy white circle, as you will see on screen, and you will see when you're doing this, and you will slowly be transmatting the Glimmer up to your own little area. No idea where it goes. That's just what you're doing. So you're just holding a zone. And then eventually, while you're in the zone, a captain will appear. You kill the big boy captain as quick as you can. If you do not get him fast enough, he will get to the transmat area, do lots of stomps, and do his best to keep you out of the zone, which will just make your life a little bit harder. Not impossible to complete it if you are unfortunate enough to not kill the captain that quickly, but it's just not as easy as getting him down very quickly. So there you go, a little pro tip. You can find the Glimmer Extraction in the EDZ on the Trostland, the Gulch, the Sludge, and Firebase Hades. You can also find the Glimmer Extraction in Nessus on the Tangle, the Cistern, and Glade of Echoes. So again, real quick recap, you just shoot those triangles, one at each of the mining locations, turns it heroic, capture the zone, kill a big bad boy, and it is over. Alright, so let's move on to our next public event and how to make it heroic. Event number 2 is the Arsenal Walker, aka the Fallen Tanks. That's what I like to call them. All you have to do for this event is to start off, you'll have a skiff drop in a group of ads, and you'll notice a symbol above a captain. Kill the captain, and you will get your first tank to be dropped in by a skiff. In order to make this event heroic, all you have to do is wait for the legs to glow orange, because that means you can do damage. By glowing orange, there's a little light on the leg about midway up above where your knee would be on yourself, and it'll turn from being dark to orange. That's when you can do damage. Blow up a leg, just do one leg, especially if you're coordinating with the team, and the tank will sneeze out these arc orbs. Take the arc orbs and deposit them at these little bubble shields that are around the map. They are kind of covering up these scorch cannons. There's 2 charges needed per scorch cannon once you have deposited a total of 6, which means you need to destroy at least 2 walker legs. Then you turn the event heroic, you'll get a second tank, and you blow both tanks up, and you win. Now, I would highly suggest you do not do additional damage to the first tank until you have made the event heroic. If you haven't noticed already, once you blow up a leg, the head opens up, and you can kind of see this glowing orange coil mess of wires that give you bonus damage when you shoot those wires. They're all crit hits. That will make it a lot harder to make the event heroic if you and your team are focusing on the heads before the event's heroic while you're depositing these arc charges, because you can't even accidentally blow up the tank, especially if you're running those oppressive grenades that are on the Void class. So that's how you make this event heroic. Just shoot a leg, it sneezes out a bunch of arc charges, deposit enough arc charges where all your scorch cannons are unlocked, meaning the bubble shields around them go down. Then you have made the event heroic. Kill both the shanks, because one more will be dropped in, and the event is over. Alright, so let's talk about our next event and how to make it heroic. Next event on the list is the Ether Resupply. This one's not too hard at all to do. Basically, as you do damage, eventually your servitor will go immune. That means he is being shielded by a little mini servitor. Kill the mini servitor to drop the shield, and you eventually make it heroic. The first time there will be 1 servitor, like you see on screen. The second time there will be 3. Once you have beaten all those little mini servitors, so the first one and then the next group of 3, you make the event heroic, and all you have to do is destroy the servitor. While you're doing this fight, you will sometimes be pulled up with the servitor's grasp, and there's a couple of other things. You either get moved to a new location, or the more common, dropped from the sky as you are playing, and that's basically the whole encounter. Once you've killed all the servitors, the little mini ones, that's when you make it heroic. This particular event can be found on the EDZ in the Outskirts, Firebase Hades, in Nessus on Excess Black and Watcher's Grave, as well as the Moon in Archer's Line. Just so you know, with the little servitors, you have to be kind of quick. You've only got at most 30 seconds to kill them. That's like the most. It feels a lot faster though as you are playing. Things like machine guns, supers, shotguns, any special ammo thing really work really well on them. But you know, you should all be a high enough power where I'd imagine damaging those mini servitors isn't a huge deal. This particular event's not that bad to solo either, and so let's talk about our next public event. Now we're on the Cabal Mining Excavation. This is where you just basically capture a zone that the Cabal are trying to mine. You just capture it, and that's the general gist of this particular public event. Now, how you make this heroic is when you get around 30-ish% captured, there will be one of those Cabal ships flying around, and you have to destroy it. If you don't catch it, like, well, it's just like kind of zipping around, it will eventually pull up to being kind of in plain sight in front of the excavation area, and just shoot it so you blow it up. You usually get 2 to 3 shots at this, so if you don't blow the ship up on the first try, not a big deal. There you go. There you can see kind of us taking it out. And if you've got team members, it can be destroyed rather quickly. Things like grenade launchers, rocket launchers, and machine guns tend to do pretty well against the ships and destroy them really quickly. This event can be found in the EDZ on the Winding Cove, in Nessus at Artifact's Edge, and on IO, the Lost Oasis, and the Rupture. So that's this event and how to make it heroic. On to the next one. Alright, now we're on the Cabal Injection Rig. This event is a little tricky, especially if you are doing it solo. The general gist is you are trying to stop the Cabal from injecting and like mining out of the dirt of this huge giant Rig. And once you defeat there's 3 mini bosses, you get like this big boss, and you destroy the big boss, the event is over. Now, how do you make this thing heroic? Well, as you kind of maybe have already seen, you have vents that open up once before the whole thing officially starts off, and then between every single little Scion boss kill. The vents will open up, destroy the top vent first, then you go a middle vent, and then you got a lower vent that you will see later in order to make this thing heroic. Now, once you have killed one of the Scions, the air will start to burn you, and it is very, very easy to die. So if you happen to be a Warlock main, especially if you are solo, I highly suggest you use a Well of Radiance. If you are a Titan, you can't go wrong with Bubble Shield on this one for the Armor of Light. But you don't really need a whole lot of firepower, just either something you can reload quickly to shoot off into those vents, or something that will do high DPS like a grenade launcher or a machine gun. Once you have defeated all the vents and each of the Scions, you will get a big old Cabal dude. You defeat the Cabal like Walrus, and that is the completion of this event. Nothing too difficult. Alright, for the locations of the injection rig, they have on the EDZ, you can find it in the Gulch and the Sunken Isles. On Nessus, you can find this event in the Cistern. On Mars, you can find it in the Braytech Futurescape. So that is this event in a nutshell. Let's move on to the next one to make heroic. Now we're on the Disrupt Vex Construction public event, also known as the Spire Integration. This is a Vex event, and it is very challenging to do solo, especially and almost exclusively, I guess, if you're trying to make this public event heroic. The general gist of the event is you have like a little area where Vex can sacrifice themselves, and you want to stop the Vex from sacrificing, and you are allowed up to 10 sacrifices. Well, I guess technically 9, and on the 10th you would fail the event. In order to make it heroic, you have to activate some platforms. In order to find the platforms, just look at that center conflux thing, and you will see 3 straight beams of light. If you follow the beam of light, it will take you straight to one of these platforms, and it will just kind of spawn in as you get close to the platform. And once you have charged up the zone, you can completely leave that zone alone and go on to the next one. And once you have done 3 of these zone platform things, you are done. It's a heroic event, and you can now kill everything, and that's all you have to do. Please keep in mind, if you do not get the platforms cleared by about a minute or so left on the timer, you cannot make it heroic. I do not have the exact timing of when you must have all 3 platforms done to make it heroic, but it is usually around a minute. So the faster you can do this, the better. The reason why this is really tough to do solo is because some of these areas you cannot see that center conflux from your platform, and so in order to stop the Vex from sacrificing themselves, you would then have to leave your platform, or use something maybe like a Deathbringer and just let it go over the conflux. But you have to know that there are enemies in order at the conflux that you would make using something like a Deathbringer worthwhile to shoot and destroy ads. While you're on the platforms, there will also be suicidal fanatics that will blow up in a bunch of Vexy milk goodness. And they don't necessarily hurt or kill you unless you're low life. It's just something to kind of keep in mind, because it can be very annoying, because it will walk up to you if you don't kill them and blow up in your face. And it just makes your life a little bit more difficult if you don't try to shoot them and blow them up before they reach your platform. So to recap, you just gotta charge up 3 platforms. You can find where they are at because of the lights coming out of the conflux, and stop Vex from sacrificing themselves. Once all 3 platforms are charged up, you have made this event heroic. In order to know where these things are at, let me tell you. So, the locations you have on the planet of Nessus, you can find this event in the Tangle, Watcher's Grave, Hollows, Glade of Echoes, and Exodus Black. So a lot on Nessus. On Io, you can find this event on the Giant's Scar. Time for the next public event. Time for the next one. Alright, we're on the Vex Timeline Crossover, which hopefully goes better than how I ended the last audio from the past public event. But this is a Mercury only public event. It hardly ever spawns. It's an absolute pain in the butt, courtesy of Destiny 2's Curse of Osiris expansion, aka the death of Destiny 2 until Shadowkeep. So basically how this one works, to start off, you run into zones. You got two sides, one and then these on one side of the area, then one on the exact other side of the area. You kill some ads and eventually a major little like Cyclops will spawn, as you just saw. When you kill that Cyclops, it will drop some orbs, deposit 2 of those orbs into one of those pillars like you saw on screen. Then you go to the other side of the map and do the exact same thing. This public event, by the way, is pretty complicated compared to the other ones, and so you'll be seeing everything on screen in real time, so that there's some downtime in the vocals, like my voiceover. Please bear with it, because I want you guys to have the easiest time doing this one as possible, just because it can be a pain in the butt. Alright, so now that you've done both of those sides with the orbs, one will face towards like off planet almost, and it'll shoot you to where you need to go. So you just follow that little like trail off thing and follow it, and then you gotta kill another major. Sometimes it's a Cyclops, sometimes it's a Hydra. Just kill whatever is the major and deposit the orb in the center. Now you have to make it heroic. It's very important you do it right after the first one, and this has a time limit. So you shoot one crystal to spawn a platform so you can jump off the area and just follow along on screen. Then you have to shoot 2 of those triangle pyramid crystal things. Thank you, Winnie Rose. That is my adorable dog. She's making some noise. Maybe you hear her, maybe you don't, but she's on my lap, and that's adorable now. Then you just keep following along as I show on screen and kill those crystals in order to get to the very top of the whole map, and you charge up a plate. If you do not have a regional chest, by the way, there are 2 regional chests, one on each side, where you can run up and grab this chest from the top area. If you do not have one side but have the other regional chest from the other side picked up, be really careful about which side you make point to the off the map to teleport you off. So if you're on the right side and you need the left side to teleport you, then you would want to do the right side orbs first. That way the left side points you off the edge so you can go teleport it to go get your thing. But anyways, so once you have busted all of those crystals and charged up that plate, you have now made the event heroic. Go to the opposite side of where you are at and do the same thing, only you do not need to worry about breaking crystals and running up platforms. Just kill the major, and it should be the same enemy major that you had on the first side. Just kill him, bank one of those orbs in the middle, and then you go back to where we started off this whole ordeal. And please note, normally if there's not a public event going on, you will not be able to access where the remainder of the fight will be occurring. Just so you know, you cannot get there unless you have a public event going on. Alright, so now we are in the middle. It's a heroic. You've done the orbs. You've made it. Like, we made it this far. You're almost there. Alright, so you can kill some ads, but now you get to do some boss damage. So just damage the boss until he goes immune. Once he goes immune, you will have a major. It'll again either be a Cyclops or a Hydra or anything that's a big old yellow bar. And he will, when you kill that enemy, it will drop you some arc charges. Grab an arc charge, and you just have to get it to the very top little platform area that is above the boss that you are shooting at. I would suggest following the route that will come up before too long on screen, so that way you don't have to run off map. But if you don't want to follow the way that I did it, you could use those little teleporter push things that put you off the map in the first place in order to get to the very top, but you have to be a little bit more skilled at jumping than I am to make that work. So you can just grab an orb, run to the middle area, and you try to get to that platform right there. Now, it's been a while since I've done this event, so I thought I could maybe make the jump without having to use that little ledge I just hopped off of, but you need to use the ledge. You need to use the ledge. So you slam it, and you can do more damage again. Rinse and repeat that whole cycle that I just showed you until the boss is down. Now, if you, depending upon how many people are in your group, slash how high you are, slash how skilled you are, you could reasonably do a 2-phase. And when you do this event heroic, you get 2 chests instead of 1. You get 2 chests instead of 1. This is the only heroic event that gives you 2 chests instead of 1. Now for the next event. For the Taken Blight public event, the general gist is you will have this little Blight appear in the middle of the map. It's kind of covered by an immune shield. You will also have Taken little aura, little smaller areas where you can hop inside of its little area and you can either destroy that miniature Blight or use that buff in order to destroy the big giant Blight you see there in front of me. That's the gist of this event. In order to make the event heroic, you just have to blow up that orb. So what I would highly suggest you do is you just hop inside just like I'm doing on screen, get the buff, and shoot at the big giant Blight in the middle. The more you do that without destroying any of those littler aura like areas, I don't know what they actually call them, the sooner you will make this heroic. So hopefully your teammates are all on board, because that's literally all you have to do to make this event heroic. Just get the aura, hop outside with Blight receding, shoot the big giant thing, and do that over and over and over until it either moves to the next spot or until the event becomes heroic. Once the event becomes heroic, you will have a big old major Taken champion spawn. Once you kill the champion, that concludes the end of this event. So it's not super duper hard. However, if you are solo, it can take a ton of ammo in order to make this event heroic. So I'd highly suggest trying to have a fire team or spawning into an area over and over until you have random blueberries that are with you, and hopefully they will help you out with shooting at the big old Blight. You can use your heavy, use whatever, just destroy the Blight in the middle in order to make it heroic. Now where can you find this event? Well, we have on the EDZ, you can find it in the Sludge. On IO, you can find this in the Lost Oasis and Giant Scar. On the Dreaming City, the Strand, and Resupply. So that's where you can find this particular event. And if the Blight does move, you will have a symbol appear, as you saw earlier on screen, telling you where to go next. And there is one of the champions. I have not quite figured out for sure if it's the same champion or if it depends upon the area, but I believe it's more or less almost always a captain. And so that's all you gotta do to kill the captain. Event is over. Alright, we're getting close to the end. Let's move on to our next public event and how to make it heroic. Now we're on the Witch's Ritual. In order to complete this event, you have to charge up 2 platforms. There's always going to be one on the left and one on the right. The first thing you have to do is charge up a platform to take down the Witch's shield, and this will be done by being on the same side of the platform as the witch you want to kill. So if you're on the left platform, the left wizard will lose its shield. If you're on the right platform, the right wizard will lose its shield. When you kill both those wizards, that's when you get the option to make this thing heroic. So this is where you have to crossfire. You charge up a platform and you shoot the opposite side crystal. So if you're on the left side, you charge up and you take down the shield of the right crystal. If you're on the right side, you stay on the platform, charge it up, and take down the shield of the left crystal. Once both crystals are down, this event is now a heroic event, and all you have to do is kill the bosses that come at you, and there's only going to be 1 or 2 of them. You can find this event on 3 different planets. Titan, this event's located on the Rig. On Mars, this event's on the Glacial Drift. And on the Moon, this event is on the Hellmouth. Alright, we're almost done, guys. Let's move on to one of our couple of last events. Okay, now we're on the Warsat Down public event. Oh, so many events. Okay, so what's going to happen is basically a Warsat or satellite files from outer space. It's like, oh my gosh, I need help. I have all these secrets. You must recover them for me and send them somewhere else. And then you're like, okie dokie, sounds good. I don't care about the resources and stuff. I'm doing this to help you out. Not if you want the resources in Triumphs. But anyways, so once you have the Warsats dropped in, you just walk up, hold X, and a big old circle appears, and it's a big, nice game of, I guess, capture the zone. In order to make this event heroic, you must kill the streakers that are around the area, and they are immune unless you kill the wizards that protect them. Every once in a while, you will have 2 wizards spawn. You must kill both of the wizards, and then a Shrieker will no longer be clouded by like this dark mist, and you can destroy the Shrieker. Once you have killed the 3 Shriekers, so 6 wizards as well as the Shriekers, you have made the event heroic, and you have to kill a big old ogre that spawns in. If you are on Mars, you will have the option of using a javelin. If you are not on Mars, you will not have the javelin. For some reason, this is like the only event that has that slight alteration depending upon where you are located. Otherwise, it's the exact same everywhere else. You can also grab patrols while on Mars that will give you those little resources for killing Hive that help you to, I guess, get more XP, as well as some planetary materials that are not as guaranteed as if you're on other planets. Now, the Warsat Down is located on Mars in the Braytech Futurescape, as well as the Glacial Drift, on the Moon, in the Archer's Line, and the Hellmouth, and that's it. That's it. All right, guys, we're going to move on to one of our last couple of public events. Let's get on into this. Now we are in the Tangled Shore with the wanted CRYO-PODs. For this event, to start off, you must clear out 2 waves of ads. They usually end with a major that you must kill. Once you have cleared those 2 waves, you will eventually have the major guy hop out of that cryopod looking structure thing that dropped in the middle when the event first started. Once that big old major dude is out in the middle, do not try and tank it. Only do enough damage, just enough damage to have the ground freeze more or less with arc energy. Once the ground has frozen with that arc energy, you are then able to shoot at some vents, and when you destroy a vent, it will spawn out a arc charge. Grab the charge and throw it at the boss. Now you have 4 vents that are an option, and you can only destroy 2 at a time. You will know which 2 because they will have steam coming out of the vent that you are able to shoot and blow up, and that will then spawn in the arc charge. Once you have hit the boss with 3 of those arc charges, he will be more or less quote-unquote frozen and can't move. Now you have to transmat him to a prison or something. And so once again, you control the zone and just kill ads until you've completely captured it from 0 to 100 and the event is over. That's all you have to do for the wanted CRYO-POD event. This event is only found on the Tangled Shore on Thieves Landing, Jetsam of Saturn, and Sorex Cut. Each location has a different enemy that can spawn in that is also associated with a planetary or destination triumph, so that way you can get a little bit extra points and flex your beefiness on triumph score as well. Alright, let's move on to our next public event. Okay, now we're going to talk about the Ether Harvest event. More or less how this event works is you have one big servitor that's in the middle, kind of by that little crater thing. And then you have a couple of smaller servitors that are spread around kind of in a circle around the diameter or the outside edge of this little area. When you are fighting, you will have one of these little, not quadrants, that implies 4, but one of these little areas will have a like captain or a major with a symbol above his head. Once you kill that dude, the servitor that he is in the area of, the little one, will start shooting out these white orbs that look kind of like ghosts or spirits, not as friendly as Casper, but they're concentrated ether, and those little orbs are going to try to sacrifice themselves to the big servitor that is in the middle. In order to make this event heroic, you cannot allow a single one of those white little Caspers to sacrifice themselves to the big servitor in the middle. So how I would suggest you go about this, particularly if you only have 1 or 2 people doing this, is you guys spread out a little bit, so that way you can kind of crossfire and make sure you're not going to miss a single one of the ethers. And you try and clear out the majority of the ads or the little guys before trying to finish off the captain, because some of these ads have big melee damage and they will try to rush you. So unless you're rocking 2 wells or 1 or 2 wells, it can be rather dangerous for the heroic completion to not have a well, because those guys will try to run up and Benjamin Button you by smacking you with the thing. Not Benjamin Button, but the Uncle Ben or whatever from Game of Thrones. Like, you know how he wields the thing at the end? That's basically what some of these ads do. And so if you don't have a well, it can kind of hurt your life a whole lot. So if you clear out the ads, you'll be okay. Finally, when you're trying to crossfire for the orbs, I found it was easiest with my wife when one of us was on the left side of the main servitor, facing the direction of the small servitor, and the other one was on the right side, facing the direction of the small servitor that was sending the concentrated or Casper things. Because then we could cross shoot. You had a little bit more of an angle, because sometimes these things try to be really sneaky and go around the sides, and if you're both like standing on top of each other, it's not that difficult to miss one of the orbs, because it went a little bit different direction than straight down the middle. And that is basically this encounter or this public event and how you make it heroic. Just gotta kill all those Caspers from 3 different captains. Once you've done that, the machinist will spawn as a boss, not an abnormal or like one of those like modified ogre looking things. The machinist will spawn. Defeat the machinist, which is nothing special. Just like a regular person, you just shoot him a whole bunch until he dies. Once you kill him, that is the completion of the heroic event, and that is all you have to do. This event is mostly in the Four-Horned Gulch on the Tangled Shore, but apparently also is able to spawn in the Dreaming City on it's called the Devonian Mist and the Strand. It can spawn, is really unlikely, but it can happen in those 2 locations on the Dreaming City. If you really, really want to get it, I would suggest kind of chilling out in the Tangled Shore in the Four-Horned Gulch. Just go up an elevator from the Tangled Shore and you will get there. Okay, let's get on to the next public event. The last public event is the Rift Generator on the Dreaming City. This particular event also has a patrol that you can grab that is really, really easy to finish during this public event because of the enemies that are in the event, so you might as well grab that at the same time. The general gist of this event is you must charge up that glowing looking sphere globe gyro thing in the middle by getting an orb from one of the abominations, slamming it in that gyro deal, and then defending the gyro thing. If it takes damage, that's okay, but if it runs out of like its percentage of health, you must grab another one from an abomination and slam it, and that is the general gist of this event. But in order to make it a heroic event, you just have to keep killing ads, kill basically everything you possibly can. And on the side you are currently fighting on, eventually a taken Blight will spawn on the back half. Destroy that Blight in order to make yourself have a heroic event. But you must destroy the Blight in each area. So you can't just destroy one taken Blight and then be like, yay, I got heroic. Oh no. You must destroy 3. And from what I can tell, in order to spawn the second and third taken Blights, you must destroy some of these major Scorn Captain deals that are running around in that area, which is why I stress just killing everything you possibly can, because that is a good indicator that you will get the taken Blights to spawn in. Once the taken Blights are spawned in, you then have to kill some taken wizards. Once the taken Blights are gone, you will see these taken wizards get spawned around that gyro generator type thing in the middle that you have been protecting. Kill those wizards and you will then be spawned into a heroic event. You get taken into the Ascendant realm where you have more wizards to kill, and each wizard unlocks being able to do the damage to the boss man that is in the middle where the gyro thing was at, only now you're in the Ascendant realm and it's a big old boss dude that's chilling there. When you kill a wizard, you unlock more or less one of the keys to the door to do damage. Kill all the wizards, you then are able to do some pretty nuts damage to the boss man, kill the boss man, and that is the end of this public event. This event is only found on the Dreaming City, which is pretty nice because if you have any quest or triumph that says, hey, do the rift generator, you know you have to go to the Dreaming City. There's also different triumphs associated with its events, such as completing the event with only so much damage being dealt to the generator and completing it with within such a certain time frame, that kind of a deal. This event is only available in the Strand. So if you're running around on the Dreaming City and you're trying to do this event and you see a public event on your map that's anywhere besides the Strand, it will not be the Rift Generator. So make sure if you're trying to do this event, you are in the Strand. And that concludes all of our public events. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I really hope this guide on every single public event and how you can make it heroic was helpful. And if you so desire, I would love if you were to like the video and or subscribe. Now, I'm also curious how many times y'all could hear my wonderful dog Winnie, who is also my logo. So if you're able to hear her at all throughout the video, I would love it if you left like a dog emoji or just said something down in the comment section about that. I don't know. It would just be fun for me, I guess, to find out. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I am Church of Caboose. Have a great week and happy grinding, y'all.